everyone, this is Marika and welcome back to another session with me. As we are dealing with the sixth unit, which is methods of teaching, we have seen and discussed various different methods of teaching like lecture method, demonstration method, group discussion, seminar, symposium, field trip, panel discussion, role play, and various other methods, right? We've seen what are these different types of methods, what are the advantages, how it is to be conducted, what are the guidelines to be followed, and what are the different principles of different methods of teaching. Now we have come towards the end of methods of teaching. Today we are going to deal with the last method of teaching that is used in every different field of teaching. After today's session, we will be dealing with clinical teaching method. So the topic for today's discussion is problem-based learning. So when I say problem-based learning, it must strike your mind what this particular concept or what this particular session could be about. So problem-based learning, right? From the term itself, we can understand that this concept, particularly this session, deals with a type of learning that involves dealing with a particular problem. So let us see what is problem-based learning, what are the different characteristics and principles and various advantages and disadvantages of problem-based learning. So to begin with, a problem-based learning is a student-centric method of teaching and learning. Of course, it is a student-centric method of learning, right? In problem-based learning, the students are given a certain problem, right? The students are assigned a particular problem and the students have to work in group to find the solution to the given problem. So the problem that is given to the student is an open-ended problem. So student will be assigned with open-ended problem. The students will be made in group and the students have to solve the problem or discuss on the problem, which is open-ended. So here in problem-based learning, we have to understand that it is the problem that is assigned to the students which drives the motivation among the students, right? So students are given a particular problem and they are asked to solve the problem or they are asked to find the solution to the problem. So the problem is what drives the motivation in the students. So problem-based learning, it is an inquiry-based learning which guides the student to the solution of the problems in the real world through cooperative group work. As I said, in problem-based learning, the students in a group will be assigned a particular problem and they have to find a solution to the given problem. So the students will work in group. And because a problem is given to them, the student needs to think on that problem. It requires critical thinking skills as well. It helps to build critical thinking skills as well. A problem-based learning is a method of learning. It is an inquiry-based method or it is an inquiry-based process which requires the students to work in a team or work in a group so that they can find the solution to the given problem. A problem that is given to the students are usually. Now let us see, to understand problem-based learning better, the definition of problem-based learning. Now we are talking about problem-based learning. So here a problem is given to the student, a problem that is open-ended. The students can discuss on that matter. They can gain the knowledge on that particular problem or the subject by having a discussion or by working in group to find the solution to the problem, right? So here the students are trying to overcome the given problem or solve the given problem, right? So this is a problem solving method. Now, what is problem solving or the method of problem solving is the process of overcoming difficulties that are faced during attaining the goals. Now, this definition is about problem solving method. So in this problem-based learning, the students are actually solving a problem that is given to them. So what is the problem solving method? A problem solving method is the process of overcoming the difficulties that are faced while attaining the goal. During the process of attaining the goal, whatever difficulties are found in between, the process of overcoming those difficulties is the process called as problem solving method. Okay, so this definition is given by Skinner. According to D.J. Bond, the main principle behind the problem-solving method or problem-based learning is there should be a problem. There should be a problem or there should be a query or a puzzle that the students wishes to solve, right? So as I said, from the term itself, it is problem-based learning, or it is a problem solving method, right? So to initiate the process, in order to get involved in problem solving method or problem based learning, first we need a problem. There should be a problem or a query which the learners or the students wants to solve, they wish to solve. All right, so if there's a problem, query, or a puzzle, then that is what drives the motivation in the students to solve the problem. So in order to have a problem based learning or to have a problem solving method in learning, we need a particular problem or a puzzle that the students are interested to solve. All right. Now, problem-based learning is a process where we have seen that a particular problem is there, right? Now, problem-based learning is the process of acquiring knowledge, skills, and attitude in the context of an unfamiliar situation and applying that knowledge to the situation when it actually happens. This particular sentence says that a problem-based learning helps the individual to acquire the knowledge, to acquire the skills and attitude. They will be able to acquire knowledge, skill, and attitude, but they will be gaining all this, or they will be acquiring all this in an unfamiliar situation. Now, because they are exposed to the certain problem and they know how this problem is to be solved, when the actual problem arises, they can use the knowledge, skills, and attitude to solve the problem when it actually arises. Problem-based learning includes various different components. Let us see what are those components involved in problem-based learning. There are majorly two different components. The first one is student working in a group or as a team. As I said from the very beginning here, from the introduction, we are seeing a problem-based learning is a process in which students try to acquire knowledge. It is a method of inquiry and it has an open-ended problem. Here, the students work in group to find the solution to the problem. So the first component is student working in a group or as a team. So to find the solution to the problem, the students have to work in a team, in a group, to find the solution of the particular problem. And the next one is student-directed solution of the problem. So as I said, problem-based learning has two main components. The first one is students working in a group or as a team. The second one is the solution that is found to the problem is student-directed. Now, in problem-based learning, the problem is assigned to the students. The students have a particular problem which they wish to solve. Now, problem-based learning helps the student to find the solution which happens on their own, right? The students try to find the solution of the problem on their own. So there are two major components. First one is student working in the group, and second one is the solution that is found is student-directed. Now, problem-based learning focuses on finding the solution of the problem in the same environment where the problem actually arises. Okay, so if the problem has arisen in this particular situation or this particular environment, in the same environment, the learners are supposed to find the solution of the problem. We have to understand that in problem-based learning, the presence of problem is what starts and guides the entire problem-based learning method. So the presence of problem is what starts the process. It is what guides the process of learning, and it also determines how the problem is solved. Okay, it also helps to determine how the problem is solved, and the knowledge of the students or the learners are expanded through group discussion and collaboration. Okay, so in problem-based learning, from the beginning, we are seeing there is a problem, that is open-based, student work in group to find the solution to the given problem, right? So the presence of the problem is what starts the process, what guides the process, and it also determines how the solution of the problem is found. And the knowledge of the learners involved is expanded through collaboration with one another and also through discussion as a team. Let us now see what are the uses of problem-based learning or the purposes of problem-based learning. The first one is acquiring knowledge on the subject matter or the topic. Of course, to acquire knowledge is the first purpose of any of the teaching method. So through problem-based learning also, students expand their knowledge. They take a particular problem, they try to search more on that problem, they do certain researches, and they also have a group discussion. So this will help the students to increase the knowledge. So the main purpose or the first purpose of problem-based learning is to make sure that the student acquire enough knowledge on the particular subject matter. Second one is motivating students to learn. In problem-based learning, it is the problem that guides and that motivates the student to find the solution. Of course, when there's a problem and if the learners are interested to solve those problems or they're interested to actually find a solution to the problem, it will motivate the students to learn more. Next one is helping students with retention. Of course, it will help the student with retention because problem-based learning is a student-centric method where the students are deeply involved in the process to find the solution of the problem. They try to understand the problem from various different aspects and they try to find the solution of the problem, which means they need to gain an in-depth knowledge about the problem and also about the ways to overcome it. So if the students are deeply involved, concentrated in finding the solution of the problem, it will obviously help them to retain the knowledge better. Next one, developing the thinking skills of the student. So there is a problem, we need to find the solution of the problem given. What can be done to overcome that problem? What are the different ways to overcome the problem? How can those problems be overcome effectively? All this requires a lot of thinking. Therefore, it requires a student to also develop their thinking ability. Next one, we have having a sense of fun while learning. Of course, it helps the students to have fun while learning. So the problem that is given to the student or the problem that is found by the student is what interests the student, right? They want to find the solution of the problem. The learner are actually interested in the problem. So while they find the solution to the problem, while they're engaged in the process, they have fun. And in the meantime, they also learn. So problem-based learning is a method of learning in which the students not only learn but also have fun while learning the entire process. Let us now see what are the features of problem-based learning. The first feature is learning is initiated by the presence of the problem. So from the beginning, from the term itself, we can understand it is a problem-based learning. So for us to actually learn the process, we need a problem. So the learning is entirely initiated by the presence of the problem, which is the first feature of problem-based learning. Problems are solved on complex real-life situations. So the problem that arises, right, the problem that is chosen by the students helps to solve the real-life problem as well. As I said, the students might learn it in an unfamiliar situation, but it will help the students to apply what they have acquired, the knowledge, the skills and attitude towards the problem in a real-life situation as well. The next feature is all information that is needed in order to solve the problem is not provided to the students. Okay, so the students are given with the problem, the students choose a problem, right? A group of students are there, they have chosen a particular problem. Now the teacher might have a thorough knowledge about what is the problem and how this problem can be solved, right? But the teacher will not provide all the required information for the students. Why? Because the teachers wants the student to be involved in the process, to understand the problem first and then to actually find the solution to the problem. So in order to make sure that the students are engaged in the process of learning, all the information that is required to solve the problem is not provided for the students. The next feature is students identify, right? They find and they use the resources that are actually required. So in problem-based learning, the students first have to understand, they have to identify what are the resources that are required in order to solve a particular problem. And then after they have identified, they have to find the resources, the availability of the resources that are required. And finally, they have to have a knowledge and idea about how to use those resources appropriately in order to solve the problem. Next one, we have learning is active, integrated and connected. So of course, as we have been seeing, learning here in problem-based learning method is a student-centric and an active process where the students are actively involved to find the solution of the given problem. Let us now see the process of problem-based learning. The first one is identification of the problem, right? First, there should be a presence of problem as we have been discussing. So the students must identify the problem. Second one is the presentation of the problem, right? Once the problem is identified, the student have to understand what the problem is. They have to present what the problem is. Now that they have identified the problem and they have understood a little bit about the problem, what do they have to do in the next step? The third step involves organizing organizing the prior knowledge and ideas about the particular selected problem. The students have to organize the ideas, they have to gather the idea and information on the particular topic, what they actually already know about the topic, what the entire group knows about the particular topic. That has to be organized. Next one is to pose question, right? This is a teamwork, it is a group discussion method, right? There are various people involved. Once they have gathered the prior knowledge that they have listed down all the knowledge that they have organized what information and knowledge they have on the topic. Now, the next step is to pose questions among the group member in order to make sure the ideas that are gathered and which is already known is clarified and not misinterpreted. Okay, so in group they start posing question or they start asking question to one another to clarify the idea. Okay, next step involves assigning the responsibilities and discussion of the resources. As I said, they have to identify, not just identify, they have to find out, and they also have to use the resources appropriately. So they have to assign the responsibilities among the group member, and they also have to discuss about the resources for solving the particular problem. The next step is to research the question or the problem. Now they have identified, they have presented, they have organized, gathered the data on the particular topic which they already had. They have asked question to one another about the topic, and they have assigned the responsibilities as well. Now they have also discussed about the resources, how it can be used, and what are the different resources for overcoming this problem. To research more on the problem, in the beginning we have seen that they have gathered the information, and those information are the information which group members already knew about, right? It is the knowledge that they already had on the particular problem. Now they have to research the question or the problem. They have to search more so that they gain more knowledge and skills on the particular given problem. Now, once they have researched the problem or the question as said, they have to summarize it, right? Now that they have gathered what is already known, they have researched and they have gathered more information. Now, all this information must be clubbed and summarized. And finally, once they have summarized the entire problem, once they have summarized the entire question, they have to analyze their findings. Now that they have all the information, they have also summarized the topic, they have to analyze the findings. So what are the findings after the research? What they have got to know now and what was their previous knowledge? So after clubbing all this thing, they have to analyze their findings, which means they have to finally prepare a conclusion about the problem and the solution. And finally, there is a report on the problem. Now that they have the information, now they have summarized and concluded and they have analyzed their finding, they have to prepare a report on the particular problem. After they have analyzed the finding, they have to now integrate the new information and new knowledge on the topic. And finally, the last step is resolution of the problem. Okay, so these are the various steps involved in the process of problem-based learning. From the identification of the problem, after they have identified the problem, they will present the problem, right? Once they have presented the problem, they gather the information from all the group members, the prior knowledge that they have on the particular topic. Now that they have gathered the information, they organize this information. Alright. After they have asked question, they assign the responsibilities and they also discuss the resources available that will help to overcome or solve the particular problem. Then they research more on the particular problem, right? They try to summarize it and they try to analyze what they have found. And finally, they prepare a report on the entire problem. Now, once they have prepared the report, they also integrate whatever new information and knowledge they have gained on the particular topic. And finally, it leads to resolution of the problem. Moving on, let us see what are the purposes of problem-solving method. We have seen the uses of problem-based learning, right? Now we are going to see the uses or purposes of problem-solving. For solving a problem, we need to think, right? It requires a lot of thinking to be done to solve any kind of problem in our life as well. So the first use is to make sure that the student develop their thinking ability. So to train the student to think clearly, to train the student in critically thinking and reasoning is the first purpose. Second one is to give practical knowledge. If the students are taught about the problem theoretically, they they might not gain the knowledge which they actually gain while they are involved and engaged in solving the problem. As we know, when we are involved in any process, when we actually learn by getting involved and doing or carrying out a particular procedure, the retention is higher, right? To give practical knowledge to the student is another purpose of problem solving method. Next one is to discover new knowledge. As we have discussed, they actually do more research on the particular problem, right? So it will obviously help them to gain more and new information on the topic. Next one is to improve the students' knowledge. Once they are involved, once they are interested in solving the problem, once it is assigned to them, they are actually engaged in the process. They've tried to find solution to the problem that is given, which actually helps to improve their knowledge. Next one is to help the students to overcome the obstacles that they face to attain the objectives. We know that there are particular objectives that is to be achieved by the end of the session, right? To help the students to achieve those objectives is also one of the purpose of problem solving method. Next one is to help in development of the individual as well as the society. Let us now see what are the different features of problem-based learning. The first feature is the problem should be interesting, it should be meaningful, and it must be worthwhile. Of course, the problem must be interesting for the students to actually choose the problem, meaningful and worthwhile. Now, meaningful as in the students are actually engaged in finding the solution to the problem, right? So that solution, the entire process of students getting engaged in finding the solution to the problem must help the students to overcome the problem. Next one, it should have a correlation with life. So we have seen in the introduction itself, it will help the students to solve in an unfamiliar situation, to find the solution to the problem in an unfamiliar situation, but they can of course utilize it in their life later, right? So here it should have a correlation with life so that the students' interest is also maintained, and also it will help the students in later life. Next one, it should arise out of the real needs of the students, and the problem that is taken by the students or the problem that is selected or assigned to the students must be clearly defined. It must not create any kind of confusion among the students about what the problem is or what they should do for the particular problem. They should have a clear picture about this is what the problem is assigned to us, or this is what is the problem that I am interested in, we are interested in as a group, and we need to find solution to the problem. Next one, students must possess some background knowledge about the particular problem. So any problem, when it is assigned to a particular student or to a particular group of students, the students must have some basic knowledge about what it is. If we have no idea about what the problem is which is assigned to us, then it takes a lot of effort for the students to actually understand the problem, and sometimes the students might not understand it clearly as well. So the students must have some background knowledge on the particular topic that is assigned to them. And the last feature is the solution of the problem must be found out by the group of students under the guidance of the teacher. So the students are the one who find the solution to the problem, but the teacher should be there as a guide who helps them to find the solution. Let us see what are the different steps involved in the process of problem solving. So we have already discussed about the method or steps involved in problem-based learning, right? Here in problem-solving method also we have the same steps. The first one is recognition of the problem. We have to understand what problem it is. What is the problem which we are going to solve? So recognizing the problem is the first step. Second one is defining the problem. Now you have understood that there is a problem, right? We have to define our problem or define the problem that we have chosen. The third one is collecting the relevant data and information. So to solve the particular problem that is selected, we need to have relevant data, we need to have proper information on the topic, right? So collecting data and information is the third one. And the last one is organizing conclusion. Now that we have gathered the information, we have a problem, we have defined the problem, we have gathered new information on the problem, we have to organize a conclusion. We have to reach to a particular conclusion. Now that we have a conclusion, what is to be done next? We have to draw the conclusion and we have to actually test the conclusion, what we have concluded, whether the solution that we have provided to the particular problem is helping to solve the problem or not. We have to test what we have actually concluded. whether our result or our process of solving the problem has helped to actually solve the problem or not. Next one, we have role of a teacher. The first one is to get the students to clearly define the problem. So the first role of the teacher is to make sure that the problem the students have chosen is clearly understood by the students. The next one is to help them to keep the problem in the mind. So this, as discussed, is a group discussion method, right? The students might get involved in other activities as well. They might get diverted from the actual problem. So it is the role of the teacher to make sure that the students keep in mind the actual problem that is assigned to them. Next one is to guide them by encouraging them. The teacher is there as a guide, as a mentor, and the teacher has to encourage the students. Next one is to give them time to recognize the materials and the resources. So the students need some time to recognize the material that they have to use, the resources that they have to use. As a teacher, the teacher has to provide the time that is required by the students. Next one, to set up an atmosphere of freedom in the class. So the teacher also has to maintain an environment that will help to facilitate problem-based learning. And finally, the teacher has to give time for preparation for the students. Moving on, let us see what are the different advantages of problem-based learning. First one is improving problem-solving skills. Of course, it is the problem-based learning where the students are actually trying to solve the problem. So it will obviously increase or improve the problem-solving skills of the students. The second advantage is that it is student-centric. From the introduction, we've been seeing it is a student-centric method where the students are actively involved in solving the problem, right? Next one, it is an activity of collaboration. So we have seen it is an activity where the students work in group as a team. So it is an activity of collaboration among the students. Next one, it allows for intellectual development, right? There is a problem given, the students have to find the solution to the problem. They have to conduct various researches on the problem. They have to find the resources. They have to use the resources appropriately. And they have to provide the best possible solution for the problem, right? So it will obviously help the students to develop intellectually. Next one, it provides a deeper understanding of a topic. So the students are involved again in conducting researches, finding out the relevant information on the particular topic, which will help them to have a better understanding about the topic. Next one, the students through problem-based learning, because they are actively involved on their own and they are carrying out the activity on their own, they learn to become self-dependent. And of course, the next one is the learning process of problem-based learning is fun, right? It helps to develop power of critical judgment and it will satisfy the curiosity of the students, right? So as I said, the students actually select a problem which they are interested in, right? Problem-based learning satisfies the curiosity as well. Let us now see the disadvantages of problem-based learning. The first one is it involves a lot of mental activity. So in a problem-based learning, the students have to think, right? They need to have the reasoning ability. They need to have a proper judgment ability. They have to research a problem. They have to understand the problem. They have to find the solution that is best for the problem. So it requires a lot of mental activity, which is one of the disadvantages for the students. Next one, it requires a lot of time, making it difficult for the teacher to cover the syllabus in the prescribed time. So this requires a lot of preparation time for the students. The students need to follow each of the steps properly in order to come to a proper conclusion or in order to find a proper solution. So it needs a lot of time to come to a proper solution of the problem. So the teacher, if this is chosen as a method of teaching, might not be able to cover the syllabus in a prescribed period of time. And the last disadvantage is that for the problem-based learning to be carried out as a method of teaching, even for the student, it requires competent teachers. It requires the teacher who have a thorough knowledge on the problem, on the resources, and as well as on the solution of the problem. So for the teacher to provide guidance for the particular topic that is assigned to the students, the teacher must be very competent. So these are the only 3 disadvantages of problem-based learning. To conclude today in this session, we have discussed about what is problem-based learning, what are the users of problem-based learning, what are the different features of problem-based learning, what is problem-solving method, what are the different features, different characteristics, and role of the teacher. We have also discussed about advantages and disadvantages of problem-based learning. I hope the class was helpful, and I'll see you all in the next session where we will start our session on clinical teaching methods. Thank you and have a great day ahead.